Hi, this is Jeff Curto, and welcome to episode number 208 of Camera Position, the podcast about the creative side of photography. Something occurred to me the other day as I was scrolling through my Instagram feed. As I scrolled, like all the rest of us, I was looking at the images that people had posted, landscapes and cityscapes and architecture. And those of you who know me and know of my fascination and frequent time spent in Italy, there are lots and lots of images of Italy in my feed. I usually see dozens of photographs of places both familiar to me and also new to me. But what I noticed this particular day is that the pictures were flying by. Sure, I'd occasionally pause to, like an image or even more occasionally to comment on one, but mostly I scrolled. And that scrolling caused me to think about the act of bringing ourselves to a photograph, of becoming active participants in the image rather than passive observers of it. Perhaps because of the volume of images that I was seeing, and perhaps also because of the ubiquity of photographs in our connected, instantaneous world, Instagram, we tend to watch the images zoom by as if we were on a high speed cross country train rather than really engaging them. So I tried an experiment. I decided to limit my viewing of Instagram to just 5 or 6 images at a time. And rather than just picking the images that I paused on, I decided to actually pick the first 5 or 6 images in the feed, regardless of whether I would have given it the all important heart or even any kind of a comment. I really wanted to engage the images, to bring myself to those few pictures as an engaged, thinking viewer rather than as a quick thumbed scroller. What I discovered was something I've known for a long time, but I'd forgotten, at least for the time being, and that is that there's always a lot more to see in a photograph than what appears at first. Spending some time with an individual photograph gives us a chance to really absorb not only the content, but the way the elements in the picture relate to one another, the way the composition helps or doesn't help, our ability to read the photograph, the way colors or textures or patterns tell us about the subject or the place or the person that is represented in the picture. Spending time with photographs in this way showed me that I needed that time. I needed that time to allow myself to pay sufficient attention to them. I found real value not only in the exercise, but also in the individual images themselves. Photographs that I might have dismissed as I speedily scrolled along started to reveal secrets to me that I might not have otherwise seen. I then began to extend this by going to individual photographers' feeds and examining their work in the same way, carefully, slowly, and thoughtfully. I'm seeing fewer images, but I'm seeing them more clearly. And I think in that clearer seeing, I'm learning more about the photographers, more about the way they see, the way they photograph, the way those photographic choices affect the outcome of the images that I'm looking at. So I was reminded then of the way we used to see photographs in the days before these screens. We looked at prints. Whether the print came from a darkroom or from a printing press, we looked at photographs in printed form. And because of that, this method of really looking at a picture with care, really bringing ourselves to the image, was something that we took for granted. Of course, back in the day, dating myself a little, I guess it makes me sound old, and in a way I sort of am, photographically at least, there were far fewer images to consider. If a day of photographing consumed a few rolls of film, it was thought of as a good day. My view camera world, if I shot 16 sheets of film a day, man, I was having a big hot day. But now, we're sometimes consumed with dread if we don't fill up a 32 gig card. I mean, maybe we missed something in the scenes we were encountering. In any case, my thought here is that I'm recommitting myself to the notion of really bringing myself to the photographs that I encounter. And I'm starting to do that myself with my own work, taking just a few photographs from a week or a month's output and examining them with greater care. If you followed the podcast, if you're still following the podcast, you may recall that about a year ago I talked about having no studio and that I was building a new place and I was going to have a great studio. Well, I'm still without a studio. Any of you who've done home renovation projects can probably empathize with my situation. And holy cow, it's been a ridiculously long process. But so I my excuse here is that I don't have easy printing access. But once that seemingly interminable construction process is completed on my house, I mean, what's an extra 10 months between friends? I'll plan to carry out this exercise with printed images, as I really think that the print is the best way to see a photograph and see how it works, or perhaps how it doesn't work. At the end of most of my critique sessions with students, I usually say something like, keep moving. My impetus to kind of keep them moving in a direction that they're going in. And I guess maybe I should start modifying that with the addition of slow but steady. Slow but steady, looking at the images, engaging the images, and seeing how that works. So give that a try in your own work. See if you can limit yourself and spend the same amount of time, but with fewer images, and see what happens. See if you begin to learn more about not only the photographs that other people make, but also the photographs that you make. Thanks again for listening, and I look forward to speaking with you on the next episode of Camera Position, the podcast about the creative side of photography.